Did anyone think this series would be this good? Like, the things you could really take from this episode and learn from the series it's insane. Like, this series, Assassination Classroom, is a damn good series. So, this episode, it really shows you one of the main central themes of Assassination Classroom, and it's really obvious when you look into this episode a little bit deep. So, here's the thing. We find out a little bit more information about the N-Class, or E-Class for short. We find out that E-Class is used as a demonstration to motivate the other honor roll students. For instance, students that have a lot of good grades, they pretty much haven't had any type of, like, horrible life. They've pretty much had a really decent life where they don't have any actual issues. And you see how these honor students are being able to prey upon the E-Class students because they've had their own difficulties in life, and it, in turn, inspires them to not want to go to E-Class because they don't want to be labeled as a failure and have the same discrimination against them. So, in the episode, we see a clear theme starting to develop in this series. One of the main central themes you can get from this is how E-Class, or our students in E-Class, our main characters, they are being discriminated against for whatever has happened in their life, for instance, certain different situations. Because what we have found out is that individual characters that have had their own little spotlight through the series, they pretty much, they have had certain circumstances of why they've ended up in N-Class. Like, Nagisa is smart in certain other grades and areas when it comes to school, and you had it to where that one girl in this episode that was trying to learn chemicals and science and stuff, she was really smart with that, but she was kind of a failure at language arts. And it just shows you that certain people in N-Class, they're very, very highly intelligent when it comes to other aspects of different lectures and different things like that, but in certain areas it caused it to where they failed and they got turned into where they are now. For instance, they're in N-Class. And you see how these students that are honor rolls are having great grades, they haven't had any difficulties at all because usually their life has been really fine. They're preying upon N-Class and taking it out on them, and the teacher, the main principal of the school, we find out he's manipulating this system to inspire motivation. Like, the motivation he is giving to the honor roll students is to where, if you continue to be good, you won't turn into like them. Like, it's like something you would see in the past, like you need a demonstration to assert your power or something. That's pretty much what is going on with N-Class. Like, the principal is making it to where the honor roll students feel like they're in a position of power, and they are in their spot because they are above people below them. And right there, that's one of the main fucked up parts about the series, because it actually dives into the humanity's actual true nature. And once again, I love Assassination Classroom for that, because seeing the inner workings of how humanity can be very dark, for instance, having to prey upon the weak because to make themselves feel self-entitled and self-important because they are better than someone below them, it's really messed up and it's twisted. It is, but that is slightly how a lot of humanity really is. And to see how these students were like pretty much just making fun of N-Class just to make themselves feel better, it just shows you what type of people they are. And the way you had it to where the actual principal of the school stated in the episode that this is preparing them for the real world, and honestly, he has a really good point. That is slightly how the real world is. It's a very cruel place, and people, there's a certain line I've seen from a movie or type of series, I don't know if I'll quote it properly, but people will eat each other to get to where they want. Like, they will rip you in pieces to get to a spot and position they want to be at, and they'll do anything, any means of their power. Some people are like that, and that's how the real world is, and to see how this episode displayed that, it was astounding. It was a really good episode to showcase you the morals and main controversial themes when it comes to Assassination Classroom. Now I'm starting to understand why this series is received so well in Japan, and why it's always in the top 5 of the Weekly Shonen Jump rankings. Like, usually it's always in the top 5, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. But when something can stay in the top 5 for multiple weeks, for multiple months, that's impressive. It really is. I mean, Boku no Hero Academia is also proof of that. But the thing is, Assassination Classroom is a surprise hit in Japan. And now I think I understand why. Because there is a lot of different things you could pull out of this series, especially with this episode alone, and really understand probably why the Japanese, you know, ages like, 10 through 20 probably really like this series. Because any school student, any person that goes to middle school, high school, elementary, doesn't matter, even in work, you can understand the true morals of this episode if you are in the exact same situation. Because the real way to enjoy this series is to have been in that situation as in class. To see how you're preyed upon because of something you are a failure at. Like, everybody some point in their life has been a failure to some form of aspect. Like, some people are good at games and some are crappy at games. They can't play games worth shit. And so, there's always something someone is not good at, and sometimes people get made fun of because of this, so everybody can really relate to this series. It really is shocking. And I feel like that's why this series is just so good, because it's a relatable series that really dives into social norms when it comes to society. So, here's the thing. With Assassination Classroom, I think this is episode 5 or 6. I don't know, because, you know, we had a 1-week break. It's one or the other. But regardless of that, the series continues to stun me with its characterization, character development, and the showcasing of Koro-sensei of how he is really teaching his students to have confidence in themselves. Like, Koro-sensei, from what I see, he's not just teaching them as a good teacher, he's actually giving it to where he's building them up to have self-confidence in their self, and that's another thing you could pull out from in-class, the new in-class. For instance, Koro-sensei is giving them confidence to be able to move forward, not let people prey upon them and tear them down because of whatever they fell at. And that's beautiful. It really is. It's very, very beautiful to see how this series is diving into something like that. It makes me respect Koro-sensei quite a bit to actually see how his character is doing something like that. So, tell me your thoughts. Did you get that from this episode? Like, did you get all those morals and themes from this episode like me, or did you get something else? Please let me know in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or not, wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.